Hi there, Glocal citizens. Welcome back to the podcast that inspires a borderless mindset around manifesting a new world. I am your host, Florence Adu, and I'm coming to you from a gray day in the UK. I've just arrived yesterday evening, and I'm excited for a week of a lot of conversations and just catching up with a lot of folks that I have here in the London area. And I'm really excited about picking up this conversation on another side of the ocean. And this is a continuation of our conversations with the panelists in the Women of Africa Post-Pandemic Empowerment and Advocacy Program, the initiative of the Live Well Initiative. And we are talking to another of the panelists that's been involved since the beginning. So hopefully we'll get to learn a little bit more about her experience working on this project. And I will get right into her bio. She is currently managing partner at Crystal Mental Health and Health Education Services, as well as Senior Family Health Officer at Live Well Initiative. Over the course of her career, she has worked assiduously in the areas of training, peer leadership, and corporate health. She has co-facilitated as faculty trainer in hepatitis at a continental Africa regional training program in hepatitis, targeting delegates from 15 African countries. Under the Live Well Initiative's volunteer membership scheme, she became an award-winning young doctor participating in several health outreaches, health fairs, and corporate health missions. Since the advent of the pandemic, she has been particularly focused on providing mental health support via Live Well's telehealth services platform. Dr. Motolani Oyerinde, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Florence. I'm happy to be in this conversation with you.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm looking forward to diving right in. So let's get started. Where are you from? Where are you local? And what is your craft?
Okay, as my name depicts, I'm Motolani Oyerinde, an African. I'm currently resident in the United Kingdom. Particularly, I reside in Scotland, United Kingdom. I have lived in Africa for more than 3 decades of my life before coming to live in Scotland. So I still see myself as purely African despite living in another continent. Someone who is passionate, enthusiastic, empathetic, loving, and caring. Finding myself in the healthcare industry has allowed me elaborate those skills in form of offering services, care, and making sure people understand everything that has to do with holistic well-being. Then finding myself working with the Live Well Initiative as a young doctor and volunteer in the last for more than half a decade has helped me to really, has honed most of my skills of trainings in organizations, international conferences, has been from opportunities that I have used in Live Well Initiative. I have been able to manage my craft of healthcare in the area of family medicine and in the area of mental health, which I am most passionate about. I'm passionate about people's well-being, and I have used this well in various platforms of the Live Well Initiatives project by offering lectures in hepatitis, as Florence has introduced me, the Women in Hepatitis Africa project of training the trainer. I've been involved in that well. I've also worked with Live Well Initiative in elaborating their mission of ensuring Africans can prolong their age, Africans' lifespan. So we offer services that
longevity. Mm-hmm.
Yes, we offer services, and I have been involved in giving some local lectures while I was in Africa, and even right here in the United Kingdom, I do some lectures virtually. I've also been involved in continuous training with the Live Well Initiative's newest project of Global Public Health University, where I function as a co-preceptor, assisting students with their project and ensuring that the students of the university are able to get the best out of the program. I function also as a mental health advocate, therapist, and also a mental health practitioner, where I'm able to ensure people live their best life in mental health and emotional well-being. And these varied opportunities I've had in Live Well has helped me use the various understanding of healthcare I'm passionate about, such as the family medicine and mental health. I currently give lectures in the Women in Pandemic program that is still ongoing, and we're going to Mauritius very soon. For me, virtually. For the other ones, physically. So
Mhm.
I offer the mental well-being sessions for these women in order to gain resilience for them to be able to function after a pandemic, which is a big adverse event that has occurred in the last 3 years. And the effect of various adversities, we know it leaves a lasting mark on people's functioning and people's ability to thrive in various facets of their lives, such as economic for women, family life for women, and
Mhm.
also financial. So the program in itself has elaborated the need for support groups in advocating for women's mental health well-being post-pandemic, support groups in terms of finances in various African projects and speakers. We've talked about how this has helped the women's mental well-being. I have particularly taught these women and varied attendees of this event about elaborating their mental well-being, about ensuring that they are able to use problem-solving skills irrespective of where they are on the mental health spectrum. We know we have a continuum where people can actually be healthy, coping, struggling, or become ill. So the whole idea of the elaborative support in the post-pandemic project is to ensure women are able to thrive, women are able to be on the coping at least coping aspect of the mental health spectrum and not excessively struggle, because the impact of many women struggling can have an adverse effect on various aspects of the society, from the family life to the kids, the society at large, and the economic productivity.
Okay. You have us very interested in the conversations coming up and about your work. So let's go back to where you're from. Now, you mentioned you're from Nigeria and also where you're local. So you mentioned you're from Nigeria. Tell us about how you, as a young lady, decided that medicine was going to be the craft of choice for you.
It's funny I became a doctor because I actually thought I was going to become an engineer, but
Mhm.
coincidentally, I found out in my school, in my school yearbook, that I'd written medical doctor. And when some of my colleagues from secondary school showed me what all of us had planned to become, I was surprised I wrote medical doctor, and I guessed I copied someone because I thought I was going to become an engineer. And the reason I thought I was going to become an engineer was because there was a course I really put in my best into, and I had the teacher mentor me in secondary school. I attended Federal Government Girls College, Shagamu, Ogun State, Nigeria, and being an only girls' school and finding particularly my applied electricity teacher took a keen interest in ensuring that I understood that subject,
Mm.
and I had an A1 consistently in applied electricity and physics. So I thought I was going to become an engineer because I was well mentored in understanding. As much as I was good in biology and chemistry, I did not find myself getting an A1 all the time. Yes, I was excellent in biology. And then probably, I don't know where the change of mindset came in. I think it was somewhere in my SS3 where I was sick and persistently having malaria. And I think I made up my mind then I would want to know why people are sick, because when you're sick, you're just not able to function. And that got me very, concerned about the human body. And I think that was where the shift came gradually. And I dumped applied electricity and my love for engineering and took more interest in biology, finishing, as one of the best in biology in my set then, in my SS3, and finding myself, wanting to understand the human body. So it was out of curiosity for well-being that made me probably find myself in medicine. Even with that,
Mhm.
I thought I was going to become a
Mhm.
biochemist because I have a first degree in biochemistry and I really love biochemistry. I'd finished with a second class.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I finished with a second class upper. And then having to become more curious about the human body, I found myself going back to medical school. And I loved medicine because that just gave me the answers to the fact that, okay, we can focus on prevention. And that's what made me really love Live
Okay.
Well Initiative, because I
Sure.
started working, I started volunteering and, with Live Well Initiative just at the end of my final exams. And Live Well Initiative had afforded me so many opportunities thanks to Dr. BC Bright. I'd gone for international conferences, exposure to, meet people in such field of healthcare in African continent, in particular, the trainers had come in from Mayo Clinic. She had given me an opportunity to attend then. And so that just expanded my horizon, knowing fully well that I was in the right craft. And I found myself, loving medicine, going to
Mm-hmm.
do my family medicine studies in Loma Linda University, to become a family physician, and then going far to having some trainings in mental health, and even having worked extensively in the psychiatry hospitals in Nigeria. I'd worked in Yaba Psychiatry for a few months or a year. Then I worked in LUTS, the psychiatry department. That's the Lagos University Teaching Hospital for about 2 years before coming down to the United Kingdom. And in the United Kingdom, I find myself in mental health facilities, helping to ensure people achieve well-being, people suffering from various mental illness or emotional disorders. And that just, the whole journey of my 20 or maybe more than 10 decades of my career in healthcare has found me, being in what I love, that is family medicine and mental health. So I just found myself in medicine. I think it's just that keen curiosity it came out from. And then God and the universe and everything fell in my favor. So I just found myself loving medicine.
That's the kind of doctors we need, is the ones that actually really, really enjoy the journey of problem solving and giving care. So thank you for that. So this is a good point to ask you, why the where? So you mentioned that you found yourself in the UK, but how did that happen? How did you come to be living, working, and playing where you currently are located?
Living, working, and that's on a lighter note. Well, for me, having a balance and the values of family, I found myself relocating not because I had planned to, as even if my professors from Nigeria would hear this, my husband had wanted to relocate. So I found myself, both of us share the values of family. And so I had to come in, with my husband to stay with him in achieving our new desire to his new desire. I had to fit into it, not because I'm forced, but I was not just prepared to just go into a new country. And I must mention this on this podcast. Relocation does affect people's mental health
Oh,
because I did
yes.
not cope in the UK for more than 18 months. In short, I can be very sincere with you, Florence. I just began to cope just maybe 5 months ago.
Oh,
So I
wow.
struggled with the weather, with the food, with the
Ah,
culture,
yes.
everything
Yeah.
you can talk about.
That's right. Because your
And
abroad
when I was
experience
doing
was in California. So it was sunny, not so far from the Lagos climate. So yes, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to break you.
So probably you don't feel the impact I had because I came to Scotland, a very cold region.
Yes.
I
Hmm.
came in when the clock had, reversed, and the nighttime was coming in at around 3 p.m.
Hmm.
I had suffered from seasonal affective disorder without knowing it, which is
Mm.
a disorder that happens due to the weather. And I discussed it with some colleagues who had laughed at me and said, "Oh, we all suffer from that. We have our white light." And I'm like, I did not know. I'd seen it in my psychiatry books, but I
Sure.
never knew it was so real.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
when you don't know something can happen to you and it happens to you. So I now, optimizing my vitamin D level, taking the
Right.
tablets,
Yeah.
and I had to write somewhere on my Instagram page at Tolani. I wrote about the impact of mental health on migration. This should be normal conversations.
Yes.
The impact of the change in your culture, in everything.
Hmm.
I'm just living in a community and I'm the only Black person. And I'm like, okay, I miss my friends, I miss all my support system. And not forgetting that the developed world is egocentric. I come from a sociocentric
Mm.
region, continent,
Hmm.
where,
Hmm.
my neighbor can walk in, I can call for help with at my fingertip. I had everything so organized. And coming into a system that everything looks egocentric, I see people washing their cars themselves, I see people gardening themselves. I'm like, are there no people to do these things for these people? And I'm like, this
Hmm.
is a lot and exhausting. And the reality was just not something I could accept in good time. Because for me, being productive, being able to have achieved where, to the extent, being running a family and being able to have achieved to the extent I did back home in my passion for healthcare, I had a lot of support. I had the support of family, of friends, of paid services that were quite affordable, which are not affordable in the international market.
Right.
So that, was a big deal. And it hits me hard. Probably one day I have to write a book or collaborate, such as this podcast, to talk about mental health and its impact, migration and its impact on mental health.
Hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
people actually lose their vitality. People lose many things that defines who they are when they relocate. And most people may not get this back. Most people may not get their functioning and vitality back. I've seen a senior colleague who, with some people cope by interacting, drawing their energy from others, looking all, beautiful. And when you get to work, you look like you're the only one that looks too put together. Everyone looks like we could just wear anything to work. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, the shift in culture, it's not really accepting, but in trying to maintain who you are, you may just have to tone it down and then try to fit in. But all these things have an impact on your well-being, on trying to change your thinking, your belief, and can have a huge impact on your emotions, how you feel. Loneliness is a big deal also in the developed world, which
Mm-hmm.
we should normalize talking about, and making people understand that migration is good. It has its negative, so that people can be more prepared and not just pack their bags and run. And they get somewhere and they're like, okay, what's happening here? Why am I in the dark? Like myself, I saw
Mm-hmm.
the weather. I was like, what's happening here? Is the world about to come to an end? So that is it. So finding myself, let me go back to my question. Finding
Yeah.
myself in the UK, work and living and playing in Scotland was majorly due to family values of relocating with
Sure.
my spouse.
Mm-hmm.
And I found functioning gradually, trying to fit into the egocentric society by calling for help. So I'm someone that understands my emotional well-being. I'm very self-aware. I'm emotionally intelligent. So I'm able to converse with citizens and tell them, you need to help the ethnic minority. The struggles are real. I come from a society and I cannot find myself doing all these things you do. And I've seen some of the citizens tell me that African women are actually so ambitious that they over here are not, as ambitious. And I'm like, I'm already made from where I'm coming from. So I cannot fit into a society where women sit at home because I cannot sit at home.
Mm.
I'm someone that has everything all together. So relating with, understanding various cultures and finding that people have various beliefs of what a woman's life should be, even in the international market,
Mm-hmm.
that really got me to a state of understanding about you cannot give an opinion except you have an experience. So everyone that talks about any state, any country, any continent, and says it just by another person's fact, and you've not had that experience, your opinion may not be valid. But someone who has the experience, has lived the experience, may be in a better position to, talk about it. So for me, living in Scotland, I know people don't like Scotland because it's cold, but I've adapted.
Okay.
I've started working. I've worked in the mental health space in various services that has to do with mental well-being, and I've also been able to function virtually in still giving my psychotherapy sessions
Mm.
to
Mm-hmm.
clients and collaborations with various healthcare facilities. So I do some collaborative services online and still give holistic well-being care where I do the mental health session for various organizations that use my services, Crystal Mental Health Care.
Mm-hmm.
And I also work I still function in the NGO, Live Well Initiative, Women in Hepatitis Africa, Global Public Health University. I function in the virtual space well, because
Mm-hmm.
that is, the reality of now,
Yeah.
and being in an international space. I did not want to lose my significance. So I had to keep, staying virtual. I don't want to lose the significance my career my career, journey. So that's why I had to keep, putting a voice to mental health, to people's well-being, because and family well-being, and because that is what I do. And the virtual space and people's use of services I offer gave me that opportunity. Then Live Well Initiative has also given me the opportunity to function well within the United Kingdom, loving what
Mm.
I do,
Mm-hmm.
giving lectures, training and everything that has to do with still functioning with who I am, empathetic, caring, loving, compassionate, and everything that has to do with well-being that defines me. So that is it. Then playing in the UK, Florence, I can't tell you, the weather doesn't allow me play, but I think what I do more in the UK is conversations.
Sure.
So just
Sure.
like what you're doing, I have
Yeah.
conversations. I go for I optimize my mental well-being by being aware of what would make me feel okay. So I
Uh-huh.
could go for, if I have a free time, go out for a cup of coffee,
Mm.
get invited for events, go for gatherings, either with the citizens or with my ethnic minority, people. I love hosting people. So when people come
Mm.
visiting or people want to,
Mm-hmm.
I use the opportunity to, for a play session. So it's not like in Nigeria where, it's just
Yeah,
like play
you
is
can
always
just
at the
pick
tip
up.
of your
Yeah. Exactly.
everything is planned and structured in the developed world. So I would finally say with the last question that I've been able to
Uh-huh.
live, work, and play in the UK more optimally in the last 5 to 6 months because I had
Okay.
really
Yeah.
struggled. I'd really struggled with, so many things. And having, in that struggle, I'd had a baby. So people may say, oh,
Okay,
you just
that
had a baby, so
too.
it's okay to have
Right.
trouble. Yeah. So I had a baby, and as I said, no support system, unlike in Africa.
Mm.
So having a baby in the last 1 year, my baby is just about 9 months old. That
Okay.
was a big one for me. I did not have
Yeah.
anyone to call on.
Right.
I had to,
Right. Yeah.
some of the, yeah, to do things alone, having a baby in the winter, working, taking care of the baby alone, taking care of my family. So for me, I think that one was one thing apart from the shock of migration at the beginning. So if you look at everything together, the last 18 months or 14 months in the UK was really tough in terms of my own, reality. In as much as people saw me online as, oh, you look beautiful, you look happy. When I write about my experience, I'm like, the struggle is real. Don't tell me I look beautiful and happy. I also
Right.
know, what I
Yeah.
struggle with emotionally. So, but it's better now. And I would just want people listening to the podcast to know that just, as a tip, whatever you are going through, please normalize talking about it, have
Mm.
healthy
Mhm.
conversations, find the right support group, talk to the right people so you can, because we're still in suicide prevention month. This
Mm.
is September. So
Mm.
people
Mhm.
don't get overwhelmed and then, with whatever emotional rush that can make them think about, life as not being a gift.
I love that response because you're so right. It's so real. People say people often move by hard choices. Yours is family, others are economic. The impact of changing cultures drastically is huge. It's not a small thing. So I thank you for that feedback and opening up about your story in that way. And so I think this is a good way to ease into my question about glocal speak. So you've now been in the UK for almost 2 years. And and so this is about we want to hear what you hear. So I ask you to share a word, a phrase, or a saying that is a meaningful part of your local experience and why or how you come to value it as local speak. So I know there might be something in Northern Ireland, but just in the context of where you feel local, what's a word or phrase or saying that is meaningful to you?
I,
Hi.
I means yes. So hi, I. So if you're saying anything,
Uh-huh.
they are always quick to say
Oh.
I. So that means yes.
Uh-huh.
I means yes. And
Okay.
we,
Uh-huh.
WEE means little. So
Oh,
can
a
you give me a
we.
wee cup of, yeah, a wee cup
Okay.
of tea, a
Okay.
wee cup. So I found myself, fitting into conversations and, understanding better what, we are talking about here. And
Yeah.
been able to, I've been able to sustain and maintain conversations better, having to understand the
Yeah.
responses
Uh-huh.
the locals for me, feedback to me when we're having conversations. And I think it's just nice that irrespective of of being fluent, because I'm never going to lose my Nigerian accent. I'm
Yes.
sorry. But irrespective of being, I'm happy they know I'm fluent and my English is not bad. It's
Uh-huh.
very fluent.
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
I always try my possible best to understand, what they understand so that
Sure.
we can sustain
Ah,
conversations,
yes. Yes.
not look lost. So
Yes. Yes.
those are the little phrases I've picked up and looks like real from
Yeah.
living in a new world and finding that okay, so things mean differently because in English I thought I was like an interjection while we're just conversing when I was reading novels. I never knew it meant yes, yes,
Mm.
yes. So you
Mm-hmm.
hear people, you're just in a conversation and person say I, I,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
oh,
Uh-huh.
we are
Yeah.
talking we are talking with someone, the person is like oh, do you want a cup of tea? Should I put some sugar? Just a wee bit, a wee bit. I'm like, oh, we are we together. Initially when I came, I thought they meant we, and I'll be like, what do you mean? So
Yeah.
with time, I understood, oh, we means little. So that
Ah.
helps me really, fit into conversations on a global level from where I live.
I love it. I love it. I and we. And when you're in Northern Ireland, you just want to wee bits and say I when they ask you.
You mean Scotland, not Northern
Oh,
Ireland.
Scotland.
Scotland.
In Scotland, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Though I've been to Northern Ireland. I've been to Northern Ireland during my holidays. It's a
Sure,
nice
sure, sure.
place also, and Wales and
Right,
England.
exactly. So when you were speaking, I was thinking of Welsh, in terms of different vernaculars. And so the UK is the UK and then Scotland. And Northern Ireland, Ireland is its own. So I just want to make sure that my own geography is correct in my own head. So yes, if you can confirm that Scotland is part of the UK and Ireland
Yes.
in North.
Southern Ireland are their own country. Northern
Okay.
Ireland is part of the new UK.
Okay, that's what it is.
So we have Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and England as the UK.
Okay. Okay, got it.
Then
Got it.
Southern
Got it.
Ireland is their own country.
Okay. Your tutorial on the United Kingdom, which I should have known after coming all this time. So let's talk about mental health, because I think that that is something that so many people, I mean, I think to some extent take for granted because you yourself have worked in it, but coming to a place where an understanding migration has its aspects, being a new parent has its aspects, and then particularly in the African context, because when you think about mental health there, the idea that people have is that we often just, push people aside and say it doesn't exist and those types of things. And so I'd be interested, and I think my audience would be interested in how you see changing that paradigm, because you're in this work and you obviously have clients. How are you seeing that paradigm change in the time that you've been a practitioner? But then how do you see changing the paradigm of, you mentioned normalizing. How do we get people to actually do that and really recognize when they're having a challenge or when others have a challenge? How do they seek help for that for their loved ones or friends?
I'll try to keep it brief because I enjoy mental health
Mm-hmm,
conversations.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
for me, in the various contexts of culture and belief system, we know there's something we've heard that is a part of our core belief.
mm-hmm.
Growing up, things like maybe all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, work doesn't kill, things that are like if a man talks is weak, sharing your challenges means you're weak. There's some core belief that we've imbibed from our family, because family is the first place of socialization. So we've in our community environment. So those core beliefs have become most of us internal conversations because we've internalized it, and they become something that have become a part of our belief system, and we act from our belief system. So in Africa, ignorance may be one reason, and those core beliefs about mental illness being seen as very spiritual most of the time
Mm-hmm.
is one thing that's kept most of us not being able to talk about them, not being able to talk about challenges that have resulted in mental health illnesses like depression is also something, because one thing people must know is when you talk about things, you are not weak. You're
Mm.
actually full of grit. You're actually a strong person, and you're actually someone that is resilient, because when you talk about it, you can get solution. But talking about it in the right support group, it's
Mm.
unfortunate people may not get the right support group from people they desire, like emotional support,
Mm.
which we desire from family, friends, spouse. They may not be at the level of offering the empathy you want, the type of empathy you need, because there's cognitive empathy where people think they think and understand you. There's the emotional empathy where people now see and offer you that feeling, understand your feeling, and the compassionate empathy where people go the extra mile to make sure that they find a solution for you. So people may think they've heard you showing cognitive empathy and think they relate with what you're saying, but they are not giving you the type of empathy you need when you talk. So that's why we must forgive everyone that you expect
Mhm.
empathy from, and
Mhm.
then look out for, how do I get what I need? Do I need informational empathy, sorry, informational support, where you try to get information like this podcast Florence is doing? You listen and then you get that understanding and know what to do. So this informational support, you are also like a mental health advocate through this your platform. So
Hmm.
I'm clapping for you.
Thank
So
you.
informational
Yeah.
support from various trainees and like Live Well initiatives, opportunity to train. And so that is also informational. Informational can also come from workplace and, close friends, depending on how you have that in your inner circle. Then finally, if you don't have any of those, like in the developed world, you can go for groups and services. They're also a form of support where people can offer you empathy, people can listen to you. So being able to talk about it is one thing we've not achieved. That is why we view mental illness with so much, stigma, shame, emotion of shame in in the Africa continent. And this would not lead to progress, because it's when you talk about things that you are able to find a solution. When you don't talk about it, you are not able to, because most times talking about it doesn't mean you're weak. Most times talking about it helps you to pick up conversations, or you may be able to get another person's perspective, because you may be in a train of negative thinking. You may be in a place where you need to reframe your thinking because you believe in something that may not be serving you. You may be overthinking, you may be overgeneralizing, you may be minimizing the maybe wrong ways people are using defense mechanisms of, justification, rationalization. Those are just things that we're all individuals in our own unique thinking styles and belief system, but it may not serve us in different contexts. And there are some mental illness that can occur irrespective of everything you've put in place. That is only resilience that could help people, such as a natural disaster. It eats everybody the same, like COVID-19, a pandemic or a natural disaster. It's everybody is affected mentally, such as the sudden loss of a loved one. It's like something you would grieve, somebody will grieve and probably go into depression. So that is why mental health conversations must be normalized, even in Africa, because in as much as there are some links to genetic, many mental health illnesses or disorders will stem from the various emotional states we are, our level of stress, our level of vulnerability, our environment, such as in Africa, where the social structure or social construct is very, very stressful for people because of the government not being able to, put in place systems that would work to help citizens. So mental health in itself is large, because someone listening to me now may say, oh, they're talking about emotion. Me that have not eaten since morning. Someone listening to me from a far place in a local Africa region that needs less than $2 to survive the day. We say, what are they talking about? But it's important for everyone, whether in the developed world or in a local rural setting in Africa, to know that your mental health is everything that has to do with your daily function. Your mental health is something that you must prioritize, because it would help you with functioning in your occupation, in your personal life, in your family life, in your social community. And just to conclude the mental health, the last question with the definition, the World Health Organization has elaborated a simple definition. Your mental health or well-being is your ability, it has everything to do with your emotional, psychological, and social well-being. And it's your ability to cope with stress. So stress can be normal or abnormal. So your ability to cope with normal stress. As adults, we know you wake up, even for Florence to set up everything that has to do with our podcast this morning, it has to come from our mind being happy, being ready, being productive, and it's our mental well-being. So, and there's stress in life. She just come from a journey. She's able to still function. So it's normal stress in adulthood for you to be in the traffic, for you to. So your ability to cope with that has to do with your mental well-being. Your ability to work productively and fully has everything to do with your mental well-being. Your ability to realize your potentials. So if you are not in conversations, there's a lot of loneliness. You are not able to, understand your skills and potentials. Thanks to Live Well Initiative, Mrs. Bright, that really recognizes a lot of potentials in me and brings them out by putting me on various platforms and boards. I think she made me a board member in one of our projects with some other dignitaries. So importantly, your ability to realize your potentials come from your mental well-being. Your ability to contribute to community. Like I'll keep using your podcast, because a podcast goes a long way. People listen to it in on their bed, in transit, while they are feeling low. So a podcast is contributing to society. So your ability to contribute meaningfully to society, it has to do with your mental health. So if people are not being more self-aware, about who they are, about their emotions, recognizing how they feel, what makes them feel that way, what's their trigger in whatever season they are in. If people are not able to, you know, care for themselves, prioritize self-care, understand these are basics, irrespective of being in Africa or being in the United Kingdom or in the United States of America. Your mental health is something that is a continuum. It's a conversation you must have with yourself, because you have to understand that it's not going anywhere. And thanks to COVID-19 pandemic that brought out the mental health conversation more in Africa, because we were not of mental health important like the developed world. But after COVID-19, it became a normal conversation. So there's still stigmatization in Africa because people still have those core beliefs from society about mental illness being shameful, the shame associated with a family member mental illness, the shame associated with the name of their family, the shame associated with what people will say, or the perception from what people, which this perception is coming from those people's ignorance. So this stigmatization in Africa, in as much as we're accepting of the conversation, but there's still stigmatization, and stigmatization simply stems from ignorance. And the only way to end stigmatization is conversations like this around the internet, in person, through various community projects like what the Legal Initiative does. That's the way we can end stigmatization. Because once people keep understanding, keep knowing that mental health doesn't mean the person, a mental ill health doesn't mean the person cannot go back to achieving functioning. The person's ability to achieve functioning, as mentioned, is dependent on the support from family, from the hospital, from community, and the government. So it's a big deal for us to normalize mental health conversation. So various stakeholders, starting from you and I to the family system and everyone, can know the role they play in ensuring people with mental illness can go back to achieving adequate functioning.
Sure, sure, sure. As you're saying that, I'm thinking about the vocabulary and how that could play a role in changing the conversation, and not necessarily what the work is, but it has me thinking about my mindset hack. And so I'm going to ask you that question as well. When you think about mental health, it is a mindset, and it's where and how you develop tools or techniques or practices that help you, if you can, by yourself, like having conversations, as you've mentioned. Maybe it's realizing that you get outside. But yeah, it's a way to, when we think about it, if we said mindset health, would that change the conversation? Is a question that I have, but I'll put a pin on that and ask you about your mindset hack. So this is something that you do to hack your mindset. So practice, something that you do, something you imagine, or something that you've heard of as your mindset hack. What is your mindset hack?
It's something about this also shall pass. Something that has to do, yeah, something that has to do with just being able to function in that day. Or something I'll just say like chill. So I
Mm,
just tell myself chill.
mm-hmm.
I just use that to tone down any emotional hurdle and reframe my thoughts around whatever may look like, I need to figure out quickly, and give myself the compassion of taking change as it comes in that context of whatever I'm handling at that point in time. So for me, I just say chill, or I'm just like very Nigerian. I'm like,
Let's hear it. Let's get
sometimes I just say,
attention.
well, I know they finish.
Exactly.
Wahala no dey finish oh, but we still
Uh,
go, we still dey, we
yes.
go pass this one. Just like being very real and African, like why that you must always, as an adult, you must always have something that will need your brain, your thinking faculty beyond what you think you are able to do at that point in time. So
Mm-hmm.
for me,
Mm-hmm.
just like wahala no dey finish, but God pass this wahala. Maybe just day. Maybe just day. Maybe
Uh-huh.
just day means like maybe we just chill. Maybe we chill first.
Uh-huh.
Then we
Uh-huh.
move on.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I
it's
love
just
it.
a way of toning down overwhelm.
I love it. And so you did mention something interesting. What would be your mindset hack for people? Like what would in the mental health space? Like what would a mindset hack be that you could imagine?
Oh, something about think about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's something. Think about yourself. So most times, people may not be in tune with their feelings, their emotions, and being more self-aware. So for me, just think about yourself every day.
Mm.
So just ask yourself, how are you feeling? That's something in the mental health space. Reflect on how you are feeling. what are you grateful for today? So in elaborating that, reflect on how you're feeling today. What are you grateful for today? What challenges are you still facing?
Mm-hmm.
What goals are still in place? So in that way, that simple technique would help people, think about themselves on a daily basis, because most times you can want to think about
Yeah,
everything apart from
exactly.
yourself,
Mm-hmm.
running to work, running to solve your family issues, take caring. If you have under fives like myself
Mm-hmm.
and a family, a spouse, you are thinking about everything about them. You may not think about yourself. So for me, it's always think about yourself. Yes, I may say first, but most times I just put it so you can choose if you want to think about
Mm.
yourself first or last. For me, I
Mm-hmm.
put first. I put first because
Right, because that's where it all
it's
starts.
important I think about myself too.
Yeah.
So
Okay, I love it. I love it. So take us now on the journey that you've been on with the post-pandemic women's empowerment program. So you've, I think, participated in at least virtually or in person in many of them. Tell us about how you found it, what kind of feedback you found, and then what you're looking forward to in the upcoming conversations.
yeah, thank you. So in the Women in Empowerment Post-Pandemic Empowerment Program in Africa, organized by the Live Well Initiative with our various sponsors, Giant and every pharmaceutical supporting Live Well Initiative.
Mhm.
The Women in Empowerment Program, it's something that I've seen helping the women. In my conversations from the first lecture in Nigeria, where many young females and middle-aged females and probably those joining virtually, women in particular, were able to understand and relate to the fact that the pandemic had hit their ability to stay resilient, because it had affected their
Mm.
economic strength,
Mhm.
their financial strength, their personal mental well-being, and the conversations with the various speakers involved. Even with there are speakers from other African continents, like the ones in Kenya we spoke with, I think Sierra Leone. We've been able to have people talk about various ways they've helped women in doing things like what we call thrift collection, in ensuring they're able to have, I think that was a conversation from someone from another African region in the last region we spoke in. The person mentioned how they are able to help women achieve social strength, economic strength, by making sure they form small groups where women are able to draw resources and maybe give a woman to go do her market runs so
Mm.
that she can achieve some profit, then maybe return the capital. And that was ways, because of we don't have that structured support from the government like in the developed world. So those are the ways that women were able to achieve economic strength in the African region. And the conversation around resilience, which was part of the mental health session, helped women realize that these women were troubled emotionally, and this emotional trouble has spiraled even into 2024, because the pandemic was just about 4 5 years ago,
Mhm.
and these women still felt the anxiety of what will be. The world is just a place where things can happen. There are uncertainties
Mm.
in life. So the conversation around resilience helped many people take home prioritizing their mental well-being in terms of understanding their emotions and using emotional coping skills like ventilation, talking in a healthy space, prioritizing self-care, anything that is self-care to you, whether it's taking a cup of tea, whether it's taking a lot of fruits and optimizing your physical health, which also has an impact on your mental health. So the conversations in the various regions has left women wowed with more information and all attendees about how they see building resilience, prioritizing their mental well-being, and coping with adversity as something they must put in mind in order to survive everything that has to do with life. Because life in itself as a journey comes with different seasons and different part of the curve where everyone is on. So that's what I can say about the conversations. I'm looking forward to Mauritius. It's one that would want the women in the Mauritians or Mauritans women to gain a lot of knowledge on how they can pull. For me, my goal in the further future sessions is to ensure women can draw strength from their inner being, how they can bring in thoughts, their own thoughts now, not just what we are saying. In what ways are they thinking they can impactful to both themselves, the society, and everything that has to do with their economic strength. So for me, my conversations in the last two has been impacting for resilience, for you to think. But going forward, I want it to be such that these women are able to bring up conversations and their thoughts about how they can actually be the change, be the change, even
Mm,
irrespective of adversity. What are the ways you can come up with thinking that we have not spoken about? That's, and that's what I would, like to be in the conversations around what people are thinking. I would like to be in the minds of other women, understanding what they are thinking. So for me, I'm looking forward to the future conversations because I would want women to go into their inner core and draw strength from their being, knowing fully well that they have unique thoughts. And I want to draw the energy from them also, even as they draw from me.
mm.
Thank you.
That's great. And it's so, I think we forgot about the various levels of impact. And so I think it's a wonderful thing that you are actually really going into communities and working with organizations to find out more about what happened and how do we rebuild and how do we be better and how do we innovate. So I'm looking forward to hearing what the future conversations are as they come up. So we have spoken a lot about the work that you do and a little bit about your playtime. But I always like to ask a little bit more about who you are when you're not being the doctor that you are and being the mother that you are. And I guess sometimes when you're being a mom. And this is about what you consume, whether you're a reader, you're a watcher, or a listener, and what are some of your favorite reads, watches, or listens, or what are some of the other things that you do when you're not focused on the business of your life?
So for me, I love people. So when I'm not focused on the business of my life, I'm either catching a cup of tea, a cup of coffee
Mm-hmm.
with a friend or with a group. I'm actually in a conversation around, just because I learn from culture. I love learning. And I wouldn't say I love adventure anymore because the weather is not adventurous like in Africa, like in Nigeria where I love to go places.
Uh-huh.
But I love to go to new places. So while in the summer I'd visited various,
Mm.
cities. So when I'm not being, you know, professional or, working, I love having conversations. I love kind of traveling, meeting people, getting into their minds, how they think, meeting people from different walks of life, different culture, learning about what people love, learning about new conversations, drawing energy in terms of, understanding that, oh, people have their peculiarities and how they think. I also love going on, being with my friends. I love, authentic, real friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I love having good conversations around anything. I love visiting places of nature where
Okay.
there's nature, like the gardens. Then I'm a reader actually. So in my privacy, I just want to be alone in my room and probably just stay and either I'm reading a non-fiction. I love fiction occasionally, but non-fiction is more of like, okay, probably I'm trying to prepare for a session and gain more thoughts because I offer psychotherapy sessions.
Oh, right.
So I just want to read some non-fiction about life and, like Gandhi, this Buddhist monk. I love some of his books on living a happy life and just wanted to get into his thoughts. So I've
Yeah.
read Atomic Habits. Just
Mm-hmm.
I love a lot of. I'm actually a listener if I want to read a book fast.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I use the Audible UK
Yes.
so I could listen fast. So some of my favorite reads also around mental health has been things like from there's a book I'm reading about optimism, about living an optimistic life by a Dr. Sue Silverman. She's a California psychiatrist. So something about optimism. She wrote a book about optimism and the various approaches. So Dr. Sue, I think her name is Dr. Sue Silverman. She's a Californian mental health practitioner and psychiatrist.
Mm-hmm.
So I use the Audible UK to read everything from Kobe trauma by Kobe. I've listened to everything about trauma. So for me, it's just then. But if I'm not doing that because it's
Work.
I have to do a lot of thinking when I'm reading this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking. So I just sit and binge. I could binge on movies. And can you guess the movies I watch so you can just laugh at me?
Yes.
I still watch my local African magic movies in the UK.
Right.
So I can binge while I'm on Netflix or Prime. I'm like, please, can they give me my African movies? Please,
Right.
Oyibo, they should leave my site for some time. So I can binge on three. If I'm so lazy and I have a off day and I'm
Yeah.
not in the mood of reading, I can binge on three African movies that even the other languages. So I'll just put Hausa, Igbo. My husband will be like, I don't understand. Are you Hausa or Igbo now? It's just me trying to explore various
Sure,
movies
different
and the
stories.
context of the African
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
so
it.
for me, I just, can do that. Then occasionally I love thrillers. I watch the the white movies if it's very captivating. But the
Okay.
African movies, they are just very funny, and so I
Yeah.
just put them to while away time while I do other things and laugh at the
Okay.
characters.
Yes.
So for me, when I'm not a doctor, because people think I'm playful, and many people don't believe I'm a doctor most times when they see me
Mm.
playing,
Mm-hmm.
because my reality is always like, no, I don't like to wear that. I may look serious, but
Sure.
most time because I can play a lot, I may not look like I'm a doctor till people hear, oh, she's a doctor, oh, and she looks so playful. So for me, I enjoy, living life on a lighter note,
Yes.
living each moment productively and happily,
Mm-hmm.
and not waiting to live in the future. So I'm not waiting to have £2,000 before probably I do something
Mm-hmm.
nice. If I can
Mm-hmm.
afford that something nice with £200 or £20, why don't I live the moment? So I believe in living a happy moment, not living in the future. So, and I think that's one thing my husband really likes about me. He's like, I like the way you live life. I'm like, oh, I'm not waiting to have £10,000 to go
Mm-hmm.
to Canary Island or anywhere. I
Mm-hmm.
know it's very expensive to really travel to Spain and the rest, but I'm not waiting for the future. I'm living each moment as
Yeah.
opportune, just like having a happy session with you right now.
Yeah, yeah. I
Thank
love
you.
it. And it's so true. Your energy is so, yes, bubbly and it is playful. And I think it's so different than what we think about as the traditional practitioner that's going to just tell you what to do and be very serious. So keep up what you're doing because it works. And I'm sure your patients also find that as well. Yes. So, okay, we're getting to the end of our conversation. This has been so fun and so interesting. And so, two things before we go. Let us know where we can find you. This will also be in our show notes. And also, what are your last thoughts?
Yeah, so for me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Motolani Oyerinde. You can find me on Instagram at Oluwa Lotolani. Lotolani, that's Oluwato, sorry, Lotolani,
Mm-hmm.
Oluwa Lotolani.
Mm-hmm.
Then I also have a page at Crystal Mental Health Care _. That's like my business page, though not very active like my personal page.
Okay.
Then you can find me on Facebook, Motolani Oyerinde. I'm also on Facebook. So I think I'm just, not on all the medias. I'm here to open TikTok and use Snapchat and all that, but I actively use LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram.
Okay.
So
Wonderful.
those three, and that's just the ones I actively use for now. And
Okay.
my email is Motolani Akimbo at gmail.com. That's my email. That's just me. So for me, my last thought for today is ensure you live your best life now. Ensure you live your best life now. In every single day, ensure you find what you are grateful for. Ensure you are in tune with yourself. And when you are able to thrive and be in tune with yourself, everyone benefits. Every
Mm-hmm.
single person benefits. But when you are not in tune with yourself and when you are not thriving, no one benefits, including yourself. So it's important you are in tune with yourself so everyone around you can benefit and enjoy themselves, and that's just life.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Those are wonderful words to leave our conversation today. Dr. Tolani, thank you so, so much. We'll look forward to seeing you and hearing more from you. All right, local citizens, this has been another episode of the podcast. You can catch us Tuesdays with new episodes at globalcitizenspod.com or wherever you get your podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, leave us a review on Apple or Spotify or a thumbs up on YouTube. We love to help others find great content on the internet. And be sure to check the show notes because we'll also have dates for the upcoming conversations with the Women of Africa Post-Pandemic Empowerment Series. And I think that's all for now. So until next time, bye for now.